Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call the meeting to order. This is the regular council meeting of Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024. And I ask that everybody rise for our national anthem.
The true north, strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much. Please join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Councillor Warren, I think you have the adoption of the open session agenda.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Perry, that the agenda for the open session of the regular council meeting of Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 be adopted as circulated and with the following amendments. Addition, item 6.1 being a deputation by William Denby relating to report ENG 2023-32, Assumption of Pearson Farm Subdivision, Phase 4B, Lindsay, being item 10.3.4 on the agenda. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Perry.
Thank you. All in favor? And that passed. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on anything on today's agenda? Seeing none, should any arise, please advise the chair and we'll deal with them accordingly. Notices and information by members of council. Councillor McDonald. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, through you. Just a couple items here. I had the opportunity and the pleasure to go down to the 2024 Agricultural Impact Study and Trent University there a couple weeks ago, along with Councillor Ashmore. Found it very interesting. They talked a lot about the trends from operations, the number of farms, the average farm size, farm type, and, the average age of the farmer. It was, and lots of many other topics. It was a really interesting day. We had a drop of 15% of farms in our area, which is concerning a little bit. And one other thing is the ag food sector, which a lot of people don't know, is bigger than the auto industry. So I found that very impressive. So very important to our community, and it was very worthwhile going down for that presentation. So I got that. And my other one is the plowing match. I'm not going to stop talking about this until it's over. But anyway, this Saturday we have a workshop on the 24th. It's from 9:30 to 3:30. You can come for an hour. You can come sign up. You can reserve a spot by emailing. So if anybody's interested in volunteering, because we're going to need lots, please feel free to come out. It's at the it is at the Ramada Inn next Saturday from 9:30 to 3:30. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It was a fun-packed weekend in Bobcaygeon for Frost Fest and Family Day at Gaminge Nature Center. I want to thank all the volunteers who made this event just spectacular. Almost every group in Bobcaygeon, plus many businesses, worked to make this just a super time. So thank you very much. And also, kudos to the Kawartha Land Trust. They secured 1,400 acres on Pigeon Lake. It's in Trent Lakes, but a close neighbor, and it's part of Kawartha Conservation. This land is also close to Boyd Island, which is also owned by the Kawartha Land Trust. So that whole area is just going to be a wonderful place for economic development, people to come visit and canoe and kayak and use the trails. So kudos to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, just a few announcements. Tea for Two on Wednesday the 28th at the Bethany Community Center. The host speaker is Lang Pioneer Village Museum, so they're excited to be presenting in the community. Saturday, March 2nd, the Bethany Community Hub will be hosting its first Euchre Night, which is a fundraiser for their hall. Pontypool Community Center will be hosting their next movie night on Friday the 8th at 6:30. And it's hosted by another local business, Turning Point Fitness. And also just a reminder that all the associations have their youth baseball registration now put on their websites. It's actually good to see that because we know that summer and spring's around the corner. And I want to give one huge big shout out to Pontypool native Ashley White, who is representing Team Ontario in the World Hockey Invitation across obviously the world. So, and she's U under 15. And it's funny, I've known her since she was just small, and you could see her booting around the subdivision always on her rollerblades, and it's just, just determination. So this is a big win for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you. The first thing, my first Ward 5 is, with embarrassment, I have my application in for my Legion membership. If you can imagine, I've let a year go as a councillor without being a Legion member, and it's right in Ward 5. And I keep saying I'll do it, so I'm finally doing it. I used to be a member up in Cardiff, so I'm excited again to show how much I do care about the Legion and pop in once in a while for a lunch or whatever. some great Pancake Tuesdays that occurred all throughout our ward for those that celebrated Easter and Lent, and many who didn't, that just enjoyed the Mardi Gras, as it would be, and community events, and they went to churches in different places. Many different charities were recipients of funding and so on. So I went to a few, and they were great. Yesterday was a Heritage Day at the Armories that the city took part in as an invited guest, and our family went for a walk on Family Day, and we went to the Heritage Day, and I wanted to thank Donna, Emily, and Laura for representing the city with such a wonderful display. It was excellent. And I'd like to just say thank you to Nancy, who's a constituent who invited me, well, I invited her, to take a bus ride. She had quite a few comments and things that she'd seen over time that she thought would be good if I rode the bus and went and saw them with her, and we did. And the reason I bring that up is to thank her, but also just to mention to Manager Porter and his fleet team. They are literally ambassadors of any municipality if they wanted to come and see customer service. Every time I'm on that bus or involved with that department, it is so friendly. People absolutely love their bus driver, and the bus drivers often make the comment of how much they love their boss. So something's going right in all our departments, but I just happened to see Fleet last week, and it was really great. Thank you.
Thank you, and I know Manager Porter is online, so he heard what you said. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Last February 10th, the Little Britain Community Association had their first annual bonspiel. It was very successful, a lot of fun, family fun, and will be the first of an annual event, I'm sure. And being on the library committee, I just want to talk about the library. It has some great events planned for the March break this year. All library branches are hosting a minute-to-win games all week, where kids are challenged to complete some snow-themed tasks under a minute to chance to win a great prize. You can also have their own March break Munster. These two events are taking place all week long during the March break. Other events include tabletop games tournament in Lindsay, Bob Cajun, and Fenland Falls branches, button making, balloon performances, cookie decorating workshops, and more. Please go to the website to check out the details and event calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few announcements. St. Patrick's Day is fast approaching, and the best place to celebrate that is the heart of the Irish community in the city Corth of the Lakes, which is, of course, Downeyville, in the center of Ward 6. And on the 15th and 16th of March at the Downeyville Hall, they will be having the annual St. Patrick's concert, and it's an excellent concert if you're ever in the area. Get your tickets fast because they do go fast, and multi-talented entertainers and from our area. It's always a great show. This morning I attended the Ag Tech Innovation, Cultivating the Future of Agriculture in our region. This was put on by the Innovation Cluster, the Peterborough and Kawartha launch here in Lindsay. And wanted to thank the Launch Kawartha for that. It was an excellent program this morning. We had 3 guest speakers. Mark Torrey, Certified Crop Advisor from Ontario Federation of Agriculture. He's also a customer service representative from that organization. Norm Lamoth, CEO of Woodley Farms in Cavan, and Danielle Paulberg of Metaboli. We also talked about attracting youth and recent immigrants to agriculture in Kawartha Lakes, also discussing how financial barriers that young farmers have as well. So thanks to Rebecca Mustard and Kelly Maloney as well for helping organize that. And speaking of the International Plowing Match and Rural Expo, we'd like to welcome Deputy Mayor McDonald to the Board of Directors, and he'll be an excellent addition to it. I want to thank him for coming on board and promoting the International Plowing Match. And of course, as he mentioned, a workshop next Saturday from 9:30 to 4:30 at the Ramada Inn, February 24th. And finally, regarding the farm show, I'll be attending the New York State Farm Show this Thursday. I'll be promoting the 2024 International Plowing Match to farmers and exhibitors in the northeastern U.S. and central Canada and eastern Canada. So it's a great opportunity to promote Kawartha Lakes, and certainly be talking to a lot of officials down there on Thursday. Looking forward to that. I want to thank Rebecca Mustard and Jen Johnson for supplying me with materials for me to go down there and hand out to people. And it'll be an exciting day representing the city and promoting Kawartha Lakes and the International Plowing Match. Thank you.
Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, forewarned is forearmed. When in Ward 3, be sure to drive slow and be on your best behavior. We are noticing increased police presence. Thank you to work with Detachment Commander Thatchell for his involvement and engagement with this, and a big thanks to him and all his team for keeping us safe in Ward 3. Also coming up this year is an incredible milestone in the history of Canada. Fenelon Falls turns 150. So if you're looking to get involved in the celebrations that will be coming up this spring and summer, do contact Maryborough Lodge or the Fenelon Falls End District Chamber of Commerce. And lastly, Mayor, special thanks to Heather Lacroix and the Fenelon Falls Seniors Club for hosting the Healthy Aging, Embracing a Dynamic Lifestyle workshop that was held at the Fenelon Seniors Club a week or so ago. Apparently it was a full house and lots of tips on aging well and staying active for those of people who are over 55. So well received, useful information, and thanks to Heather and the Seniors Club team. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. I don't think there's anybody here over 55, though. Yeah. Councillor Yo.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. This past weekend, the Coboconk Lions Club, who usually host a free sleigh ride at the park, but given the lack of snow the past couple winters and horse-drawn wagons available, they instead had a free skate and family day skate at the new Norland Rink. And let me tell you, it was just a fabulous day. Hundreds of people there, and it was so nice to see. And so just pass along thanks for helping partner and get this thing going at Ward Park. It's just truly is a gem in the community now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. The first one is International Women's Day. As we prepare to celebrate on March 8th, 2024, we honor the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. This year's theme, Inspiring Inclusion, is a call to action. We all play a part in this commitment to inclusion. When women aren't present, we must ask, why not? When women are discriminated against, we must call out poor practice. When the treatment of women is not equitable, we must advocate for change. As powerfully stated on the International Women's Day website, when we inspire others to understand and value women's inclusion, we forge a better world. Stay tuned to our municipal bulletins over the coming weeks to find out how you can participate in International Women's Day 2024. The other things I have are the March 5th Committee of the Whole meeting will start at 10 a.m. I will chair the morning session, and Deputy Mayor McDonald will chair the afternoon session of that Committee of the Whole. In the morning, we're breaking it up because it's a very large agenda. So be aware, we're starting at 10 on March the 5th. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, that's probably it. CAO, I believe you have an announcement.
I do, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. So on February 8th of this year, the Kawartha Lakes Economic Development Team received a 2023 Award of Excellence from the Economic Developers Council of Ontario, or EDCO. It was for the Welcome Home campaign, and it was in the category of investment of attraction for rural areas where the population is less than 100,000. And so on behalf of council and on behalf of the director and the manager, I wanted to take this opportunity first to recognize the award, and secondly, just to thank and recognize the community partners and ambassadors who contributed to that project. And they were Matt Garrity, Tim Weisner, Julia Taylor, Shane Pasquino, Catherine Ricks, Warren Frank, and Adam Crossman. And so again, for their contributions, but overall to the team, congratulations to the reward. We'll find a great place to display that award as well. Agree. And as well at the same awards event, the Community Concierge Program was an award finalist under the Workforce Development and Resident Attraction. That was for larger municipalities, and it received an honorable mention. That concierge program is an innovative cross-municipality program that connects Trent graduates with career opportunities throughout the city of Kawartha Lakes and the city and counties of Peterborough. So I wanted to recognize that additional recognition, and congratulations to the economic development team for those awards. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else from staff? No? I did want to say one thing I meant to say in my notices. I'm going to get very tough on side chatter during council meetings. It's hard when people are trying to talk and gather their thoughts, and it's difficult for others to hear. So be aware. If you start to have side conversations, I may point you out. Thank you. Moving on, can I have a motion to receive the minutes of the January 30th, 2024 special council meeting and of the January 30th, 2024 regular council meeting be received and adopted? Mover and seconder, Councillor Ashmore. Seconder, Councillor Yeo. All in favor? And that's passed. Item 6 on the agenda is deputations. Mr. William Denby, assumption of Pearson Farm subdivision, Phase 4B, Lindsay being item 10.3.4 on the agenda. You have 5 minutes, Mr. Denby.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for allowing me to speak. I have quite a bit of knowledge on this issue. I worked for Jordy Henneken for 2.5 years here in Lindsay before Juan had came on site on staff. The developer was quite smooth in what he did with this problem here. I used to do hookups to storm drains from the sump pump. I did sewer hookup, I did the water hookup on all of that whole subdivision in there until I retired and opened up my own businesses again. What I'm concerned about is that you have a big sign on there, use at your own risk, by the municipality, which sends a very bad message on what was allowed to happen there by the city, by the planner, by the building inspectors. And I don't believe that what Mr. Stoller has proposed to do onto Phase 5, if it gets approval, will solve any of the drainage issues. Underneath that ground, as you're aware, we could dig a lot here and we'd hit water, just like a gusher. We could move over to another lot and it'd be dry. The water problem on that problem is coming from underneath the ground up. And what happened was we hooked up the sump pump to dump on top of the ground because there was no laterals from the storm drain into all the properties. So I'm just concerned that if you take this on as a city asset and responsibility, that down the road it's going to come back and bite the taxpayers. What I would rather see happen is that you go back to Mr. Stoller, because I believe in the OMB hearing, and these people chose, they asked for standing, but they didn't understand their process. That's the biggest problem with the lot. I would encourage council to go back to Mr. Stoller and see whether or not he's prepared to put in the laterals on these 3 streets and hook up the houses to the storm drain system. Because if we, the taxpayers, get stuck with it later on, it could cost us millions and millions of dollars to do that. I know he's going to bring forth the application to start Phase 5. We have some problems with it as well. I actually went and videoed the whole area this morning because, like I said, I worked there for 2.5 years, all in Lindsay, all over. So I have a really good idea of the substructure of the soil and what's underneath it and how it changes from one location to another. So all I'm asking is for council to reconsideration at this point, not to assume the streets that Mr. Stoller is willingly handing over, but to have the legal counsel to enter back into discussions with Mr. Stoller to see whether he's still willing to put in the cost of the laterals from the storm drain to hook up all the sump pumps so that they drain directly into the storm drain system, which is in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then got discontinued in 4A. Why, I have no idea, right? We even had building inspectors on site, and they said, well, we give them the option. In that area, every sump pump needs to be hooked into the laterals and be taken down through the ground and dumped out into the catch basin that's on Angeline Street. That's what it was designed to do, and I don't know why the city allowed Mr. Stoller to move forward without putting in the laterals. So, again, we're going to bring forth a lot of concerns with his phase 5 expansion, just because I believe there was not a proper archaeological study done on that lands prior to granting permits to start. So we're going to request a lot of documentation from staff to make sure that things are done properly on phase 5, because he's going to complete phase 6, which takes him out to Highway 7, and then that chunk of ground is completely full. A lot of the residents that live on Machette and Beale and Laurent are concerned about the additional traffic that's going to be there if phase 5 is approved. And I understand there is no consultation process with the public to approve, because it was in his subdivision agreement and his site plan. But I think based on today's environment, people are concerned about the environment, the water source, because as you're aware, that storm drain dumps right out into Scugog River. So there's a possibility of additional contamination that needs to be addressed. There's a lot of environmental issues in that aquifer that need to be addressed as well prior to granting phase 5 approval. So with that, again, you're going to find us more aggressive because of our rights as the Assembly of Kawartha First Nations, which is acknowledged now by both the provincial government and the federal government, and in a lot of the tribunals and places, the ombudsman, where we've applied for consideration. So with that, we've actually, I hope all of you received the email that we asked that you would consider extending our ability to sit at the table to arrive at a workable solution to move forward with the development and the sustainable growth within the city. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd stay there for a few minutes in case there are any questions. Are there any questions of the deputant? Seeing none, can I have a motion to receive the deputation? Councillor Warren, Councillor Smeaton. All in favor? And that's passed, and I can tell you that it's the planning minute is extracted, and we'll be discussing it when we get to those minutes.
I appreciate that, Your Worship and Council. Thank you.
Moving on to correspondence. We have correspondence regarding a closed minute meeting complaint and a response from Paul Doobie of the Ombudsman of Ontario's office, looking at the correspondence be received regarding that complaint. And I think the CAO, well, let's get a motion to receive it first. Councillor Richardson, Deputy Mayor McDonald. Mr. Taylor, would you like to speak to it?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So through you, so this is sort of a standard process through the Ombudsman's Office of Ontario. When there are complaints that are issued, they will typically correspond, they will do their work, an investigation, and then they will require that the municipality be made aware, first through council, and then that it be shared in a public forum or venue in this case. This was with respect to a process and a task force that was overseeing and reviewing and making recommendations for short-term rentals and a licensing program associated with that, and a question about whether there were closed meetings or considerations. There were no findings of such, and so the Ombudsman was simply, as a courtesy, responding back through the municipality accordingly. So we meet all of the requirements for this, where we would share it on a public agenda so that the public is aware of the findings.
Thank you. We have a motion. All in favor? And that passes. Moving on, presentations, we have none. Committee of the Whole, looking for a motion that the minutes of the February 6, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting be received and the recommendations included in section 9.3 of the agenda be adopted, save and accept 9.3.2, 9.3.4, and 9.3.10. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Joyce, Councillor Smeaton. All in favor? And that passes. First item is item 932. Councillor Ashmore and Councillor Yeo, freeze all dock licensing fees for the balance of the current term of CW 2024-023. Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this item was discussed at the last meeting, and of course it came to today's meeting for ratification. The deputant explained, I think in quite in detail, the situation there, and I want to thank Deputy Mayor McDonald for coming with me to look at the docks and to speak to that citizen. It was great because we did learn, even though it was a snowstorm, we could still see the shoreline, but it was good. And what they are saying, and first of all, we want to include 3 areas: Thurstonia, Cedar Glen, and Kenstone Beach Road. They're all important. Some have a lot more than others, but all those 3 should be included in this. That the freeze on the $150 dock fee, it should be frozen until at least the end of 2026 or January 1st, 2027, and that staff be able or council at the time, council or staff can work together and perhaps extend it. But there's other issues as well. We talked about a lot of the open spaces that are in this waterfront. If you've ever been to Thurstonia, it's a huge waterfront. I think it's our largest waterfront that we have with docks anyways. And they are going to be setting up an association, which is a good idea because I think they have to have a united voice for Thurstonia anyways. And they just want to have this frozen for at least to the end of this term. We talked about how they did have at one time a 90-year agreement, and that these would never be brought, these fees would never be increased. Lo and behold, we had this in 2017, we had a new docking policy and sort of started the wheels in motion. So with this accelerated inflation, cost of living, CPI built into it, which kept accelerating the prices and kept putting them up. So when we discussed it last week, 2 weeks ago, basically we have about 100 years worth of inflation built into these dock fees, which because they did multiply tenfold. So that was the motion, and hopefully we can get support on this, that these be frozen till at least till the end of this term. Please, hope you can support it.
Okay. I understand where you're going with this. I know Councillor Yeo wants to expand it to something else, so I think I'm going to suggest splitting the motion, Councillor Yeo, and you making your motion separate from this particular one. Are you okay with that?
That's fine. I'll do a follow-up.
Okay. I have a couple of people who want to speak to this. Deputy Mayor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you through you, and thanks for Councillor Ashmore for inviting me out there. So had a good meeting with Mr. Hellwell, and so I came back and I did some little history on, so just to get everybody up to speed on this that weren't involved with it, Community Services gave this responsibility to Realty Services approximately 14 years ago. It's report C220100069. November 16th, 2010, they started with the dockings, following the docking process. So that's when it was passed by council for $10 a foot. Maintenance of the dock is responsibility of the dock permit holder. Vacant dock space, we talked about that, and I wasn't aware of it until I reviewed all this, but the vacant dock spaces were intended for those who never got a dock, and it was an area that people could walk through to get to the water, because if you take up the whole shoreline, then if anybody that lives there that didn't get a dock wouldn't be able to get into the water, or if it's for the public, because water is for the public also. So back in 2010, again, approximately 80 people showed up in attendance to focus on a few things: annual dock fees, length of docks, the opportunity of dock permits, and develop a local advisory committee. Trent Severn had no desire to take this over, so that's why we pay Trent Severn $100 a year to, and this has been in effect over 50 years. We've been looking after this over 50 years. So it was at that time that the City of Kawartha Lakes felt that the fee increase was fair due to no increases for approximately 30 years. So the lease starts January 1st, 2004, and it goes till 2028, $150. And the CPI, which is reviewed every year by the Finance Department, and it's gone up from $135 to $139.10. And just to add to that, boathouses went from $400 to $1,450. So there's just a quick picture of where this all started from, because there's a lot of new people sitting around the room here. So Mr. Hellaway had some questions too, also about, where does all this money go? Well, I looked up that too. So it goes to the capital budget, and they want to know where that. Well, I looked into it, and in 2011, if they want to know where the money went, $40,000 was in the capital budget to restore and repair the wall. They also fixed Arnold Park, received a new picnic shelter. Sam's Dock received a new swimming docks platform, and the shoreline was landscaped for accessibility, greatly improved. Boat launches were also redone, and the public work was also done. So here we go. So people have been waiting for dock spaces, and I've heard 6 or 7 years with the deputation. Realty Services, they do not have a list and never had a list. To their knowledge, that there's a list out there for people to get these empty spaces. Empty spaces are for people who live down there that don't have a dock, and it's for the public. That's why they're empty right now. Not to say that we can't change that. I don't know. I'm recommending that maybe Realty Services and Councillor Ashmore and even myself, I wanted to go and we look at these spaces and see what needed to be for the public or what's not. But like I said, this has been going on for a long time. I also suggested to Mr. Hellaway that he does not speak for everybody. They're going to, hopefully, I advise them to get an advisory committee, because when he speaks for himself, because there is no advisory committee. So it's pretty hard for one individual to speak for that many people when he hasn't been elected or anything to speak. So, and I also told him that day, so it's no big surprise. So, and the last part of this is this is kind of what I take out of this, is that there's a lot of advantages of having a dock. I don't know about you, but I have a water vessel, and I know that if I had to rent a spot, it would cost me $1,000 to $3,000 per season at a marina to boat my dock or my Sea-Doo or whatever. So I think $150 is a very reasonable price to pay for that, to have your own private dock on a beautiful, beautiful water. Also, another important factor is that with all these empty ones, everybody that has a dock now, it increases the value of your house. So just think about it. If you sell a house down there right now and you got a dock space, all of a sudden that to me is a bonus, and the people who have that have a bonus that, hey, I have 12 feet of waterfront if you buy my cottage, and so on. So, and I don't think anyone would give up a dock space for that reason for $5, for one thing. So by saying that, I don't have a problem with working with the $150 and leaving it the way it is, until Somebody's going to suggest 2 years or at the end of the lease until 2028. That's up to the people around the room. But anyway, that's what I found out after I went and looked at everything, and I think it's very valuable information for everybody sitting around this table, how we make a decision on docks and so on, because it's $150, and that's for everybody pays the same thing. And the same with CPI. If we stop CPI, then that means nobody pays CPI, not only for docks, but every other lease that the city of Kawartha Lakes has. So be very careful when you start playing around with the CPI. Okay, so anyway, that's what I found out, little history. Hopefully that helps everybody make a decision today. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, through you. This issue, to me, has become very convoluted and also oversimplified. And that paradox usually means we have a really important issue on our hands when you have both of those things happening at the same time. We can go on and on and on the one side of the convoluted. There's this and this and this and information overload. And we can have the oversimplified, it's only $5, what's the big deal, right? I also went out to Mr. Halliwell yesterday and had a long chat. And to me, what I had to do and sleep on was remind myself, what is the actual question that we can answer as a council? Is there one? When I put aside the two camps, the $5 is nothing for somebody to enjoy a lake. I asked, we have everything from blueberries, we're in the deputation, to everything else, all the different information about it. I said to myself, within this, what is the actual question? And when I woke up, I realized really there is a question that's worth asking. There are enormous spaces for dock spaces. If many of these were used for dock spaces, we would still have access for the public to the lake. For anybody who's gone out, there are many spaces that don't have docks. So that being said, I say to myself, is there a question that's worth asking and finding out? Because I can't help but ask myself, what kind of a council would not look into the possible revenue generation? Do we have the dock spaces? Yeah. Do we have a lot of income revenue through the licensing fees for those people that would at least equal, if not far surpass, $5 per existing dock? Yes, we would be making money, and these people are willing. Do we have a list of people who we would definitely use those spaces? And the answer is no, we don't. We don't know for sure. Mr. Halliwell says, I am sure. But I don't have that list. That missing list was the one thing that keeps sitting with me as I get what I saw. So for me, I support this. And if it goes through, I have a friendly that would simply, if this is going to happen, I want to see the list. I want to be guaranteed how many spaces, how many are being preserved for the public to walk, how many are becoming docks, and I want to be darn sure that we have the people in writing through our through our realty division where this sits, saying, yes, we want the docks. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm listening to all this, and thank you, councillors, for updating me on the issues at hand. I'm looking at this as there's two issues here, one in the raising of the dock fees and a separate issue, should there be more docks or not. I think that should be parsed apart. I'm getting a clear message that perhaps we're charging too much for the dock space because there's a big fight for this $5. When this contract is over, I think we should just open it up for bidding. I'm a big believer in fair market value and let the chips fall where they fall at that point. That's my thought. Down to the $5 or freezing the rates, to me it boils down to the contract. What does it say? I haven't seen it yet. Does it say that we increase every year the CPI? Then we increase the year, we follow the contract. Everybody signed the contract, let's follow the contract. If it doesn't say that, then we can't increase until that contract is up for renewal. Thank you.
Councillor Ashmore, I'll get you on sum up. Oh, Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I know the area pretty well, and I think there's enough space to warrant some more dock space. And this goes back a long way when they were a police village, and Mr. Halliwell was a trustee on that. And that was their kind of main thing, was to oversee the dockage. So they have ownership of this, and it's historical. So I can understand where he's coming from, but yeah, I'll listen to some more people speak, but I definitely know that there are spaces for more dockage, but I'm wondering if the docks go back to the police village, and that goes with a particular house. So there's some history on that. Thank you.
Let's not lose sight of the fact. What we're looking at here is whether we freeze the dock fees until 2026 or not. That's the motion. For the other two, I believe that we have already frozen the fees for that area. And it's just the other two areas that were asked to be included. So I think we need to keep that in mind. So, Councillor Richardson.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. I'm going, we have 3 different community docks that we're looking at. One we froze already, and the other are in front of us today. But the point being, is he associated with all these docking spaces? I don't think we should be doing a big broad brush saying that you represent 3 different communities at the same time either. So I'm struggling with the whole concept as well.
I agree. And to me, we're dealing with the other 2 areas. The one area has already been dealt with, and a motion was passed that would be frozen. It's whether we freeze it on the other 2. I think the issue of open docks and people applying for docks and whether there's a list or there's not a list has nothing to do with this motion. So let's not muddy the waters. Councillor Smeaton. Councillor Warren.
Yeah, not to muddy the waters. I don't want to do that. I was just speaking to the previous speakers. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, if you've got one area down in Thurstonia that it's one price and then the other 2 aren't, I don't think it's fair. So I think we should be treating them all the same.
Thank you. Councillor Ashmore, you want to sum up?
Sure, thank you, yeah.
And I assume your motion is that the docking fees be frozen until the end of this council period for those other 2 areas. Is that correct?
Just a clarification on that, because Deputy Mayor McDonald did some research and it was 2028 according to his research. So maybe that should be changed to 2028. That's what it is.
You can make the motion.
I'll make that, please, if that's a friendly.
Through you, thank you. I know that the lease right now started January 1st, 2024, and it's finished on 2028.
Thank you. Ms. Polkaboom, did you want to say something?
Just clarifying, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you to the Deputy Mayor's point, and I see we have the solicitor online. I'll just point out Thurstonia agreements go from January 1st, 24 to 28. Cedar Glen is January 23 to 27. Those have already been signed, agreements executed, invoices were delivered in 23. And then Kenstone Beach is July 1st, 23 to June 30th, 2028. So we're in the process of those agreements and invoices going out.
And what would this motion do to those agreements?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to look to the solicitor. I imagine what would happen, we would have to renegotiate or review those agreements, cancel the 94% of the Cedar Glen that are already executed, issue a new invoice, and to those that have already paid, issue refunds.
Yes, that's correct, Ms. Bukaboom. So my concern stems primarily from the additional administrative work to administer this proposal. The annual fee itself of $150 or $155, that $5 difference, would cost more for the city to administer the refund than $5.
Thank you. We had some up, Councillor Joyce, I'm sorry. So where we are right now is voting on a motion to freeze the dock fees in those other two locations until 2028. I don't know if anybody wants a recorded vote or not. Emmett, did you have your hand up on this?
I was going to ask for clarification on why we would offer refunds and why this wouldn't go into effect from the date it's being passed. So the ones that are already done are done, and they would be paying more this year, but they would be frozen at that rate. So my clarification is, why do we have to go back? Is there anything in the motion that says the amount? They're just frozen from this date. So I don't understand why we'd have to go back and offer refunds when this motion's being passed today. So anything done before today is done.
Ms. Bokoboom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great question, Councillor Yeo. The agreement is stated that on the anniversary date, annually, an invoice is submitted out to the customer. So in some cases, these invoices are out there and have in fact been paid to date. So when I suggested a refund would need to go to return the CPI, it would be only for those customers that between their anniversary date of the agreement and today have already been paid.
You okay with that?
Well, no, that's exactly what I heard before. So I'm wondering why we'd have to give the refund. We're freezing it on February 20th, 2024. So anything from this day forward would be frozen. So if they were raised on their anniversary date, so be it. They're going to pay that frozen rate until the end of their contract. I don't know why we're going retroactive when there's nothing in the motion that says retroactive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my mind, there would be disparity amongst those who have already signed, and they would be paying a different rate than their neighbor who didn't already sign or pay their amount based on the invoice submitted to them. So you got your invoice January 1, you paid right away. Your neighbor, Sarah Bokoboom, got her invoice. I have not paid yet. Great point. Just trying to have transparency and fairness.
Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Yeo? Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to freeze the dock licenses for the remaining two areas until 2028. All in favor? Oh, we need a seconder first. You got it.
Wasn't the extension for 2 different years? 27, 28?
We're doing it all till 28. Who's the seconder for this? Councillor Yeo. Okay. All in favor? I didn't, but you are. Recorded vote has been asked for through the clerk.
Councillor Ashmore.
In favor.
Councillor Joyce.
Not in favor.
Was that a negative? Not in favor? Opposed.
Opposed.
Councillor Perry.
Opposed.
Councillor Richardson.
Opposed.
Councillor Smeaton.
In favor.
Councillor Warren.
In favor.
Councillor Yeo.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor McDonald.
Oppose.
Mayor Elmsley.
Opposed.
Was defeated.
Motion was defeated. Could I have a motion to receive the resolution? Just to receive, guys. We got to receive it. Councillor Smeaton, Councillor Richardson. All in favor? And that's passed. Councillor Yeo, you had extracted that because you have another motion you wish to make.
Yes, and I'll speak to it with a seconder. Motion is that all license agreements that do not have any capital components be limited to an increase of not more than 3% CPI in a 12-month period and not more than 7.5% CPI in any consecutive 36-month period.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion?
If I could just have clarifications, I got to do the math on this. So 3% on each, 3% on the 150 per year. Is that what?
Nothing to do with the 150. Well, I guess it is, but CPI across the board and license agreements that don't have a capital component.
Is there a seconder for that? Asking a second time. Sorry, Councillor. No
Let's
seconder.
stick it to it, boys. Way to go.
Thank you. Moving on, Councillor Richardson, you had extraction 934, which was Thomas Street, 7 Thomas Street in Pontypool.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor, I will move to receive the deputation and then make a motion after.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the receive? Councillor Warren. All in favor? And that's passed. And you have a follow-up.
I do, thank you. That the request from James Cochran and Amanda Wilson to purchase the portion of the road allowance along the south and west sides of, say, 7 Thomas Street, Pontypool be granted, and that the deposition of the property in accordance with bylaw 2018-020 be supported. And if I can have a seconder, I'll speak to it.
Councillor Perry, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you. Yes, these folks made a really strong presentation to us at the last meeting, going over why they were looking at purchasing this piece of property. And I totally get that we want to create fluid traffic plans when we're looking at our road structures. I get that, and turnarounds and stuff like that. But in this particular instance, you have 4 residents living along this road. The grade at the top of the hill goes down into an 80% slope and into an escarpment. So there's a huge amount of drainage issues that would be there. And also the fact that there is a 4-prong hydro easement right behind this property. So the likelihood of that hydro easement being moved for any future work is pretty slim to none, I'm thinking. And also at this time, I really do feel like this particular piece of property, they approached us and came to council with a very solid case, as far as I'm concerned, fits our land sales strategy. So I'm just looking for support around the table.
Thank you. Councillor Perry, do you want to speak to it?
I'm fine, thank you. I think Councillor Richardson summed it up quite well.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. I had the opportunity to go out and look at this piece of property, and I have to agree 100%. The slope, there's no possible way that we'd ever even build a road in this slope. That's how deep it is, steep it is. And with the 4 hydro easements on there, there's not a chance that there's ever going to be a subdivision underneath these hydro easements. So anybody that says that, I'd have to disagree with them. So these people want to buy this property. I think it's a great opportunity for us to sell that land and use that for something more useful. And I support what Councillor Richardson is saying.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm also 100% behind it, with a caveat that I recall there's some, we still needed a turnaround for the snowplows on one side. So that can be accommodated. Everybody's happy. I'm happy.
I really want to make Councillor Joyce happy, so I just want to say that, yes, there is a backup lane where they do, and there hasn't been any plowing issues, and I recognize what you're saying, but it's on the crest of the top of the hill. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that would be, and also we have to do our due diligence too. I mean, when we go through the real estate process, you know, there's that notification, but there's also us looking to make sure that we have no utilities or, you know, city infrastructure there as well. So I recognize those parameters have to be crossed too.
So would you like to repeat your motion for the clerks, please?
I will. The request that James Cochran and Amanda Wilson to purchase the portion of the road allowance along the south and west sides of 7 Thomas Street, Pontypridd be granted, that the disposition of the property be in accordance with bylaw 2018-020 be supported.
Thank you, and Councillor Perry is the seconder. All in favor? And that's passed. Next item is 9310, which is the report on the status of low-volume gravel roads program. Councillor Perry.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And this is a follow-on from Manager Farquhar's report, his thorough report to us last Committee of the Whole meeting. And I'll have a motion that the report be approved as it was submitted. If I can get a seconder, I'll speak to it very briefly.
Deputy Mayor McDonald, seconder. Go ahead.
Thanks very much, Mayor. I think at the time I mentioned as well, I think the timing of this is quite good in terms of we're about to undertake, once we receive a report back on our roads programs, a thorough review and evaluation of how roads are going to be managed moving forward, and provide perhaps some new ideas, but also to look at existing programs as well as the status of the low volume gravel roads program is coming to an end. There are some leftover, some remaining funds. I was able to talk to Manager Farquhar on Family Day, so first of all, admire his commitment, but also he's let me know that the roads that the City Works, the Public Works Department have picked meet the criteria. They were picked from the original list for the status of the low volume gravel roads program, and that these meet the criteria and are both in town, higher volume, and that's one of the ways that they were selected. I know personally a few of those roads on the list, Mayor, I'm sure as do you, in great need. And as this program draws to its logical conclusion, we'll be able to evaluate its merits and the merits of other programs moving forward when we do our roads program assessment coming up next month and then probably the month after. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak to it?
Yes, through you. Just as he said, we've done a study. They're coming back to us and they're recommending these roads to be done. And also, I'm sure that when we get the roads report, that we might find a better way maybe of doing things in the future. But it's a recommendation that these roads need to be done, so I support the fact that they've got to be done.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had issues with this this program from the word go, because I really believe that they should be in urban settlement areas and not in the outskirts. And if Councillor Perry is saying that this body of work is going to be in the urbans, and then it matches that. I also want to flesh out too, though, in the report, we said that there were some pressures with some existing work to be committed to doing this year. I mean, when we do this work, there's prep work involved. And I just wanted to hear from, you know, our city staff that we'll be able to meet those timelines with this project.
Thank you. Manager Farquhar.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. So within the list of roads, we had shown in the last report that the balance of the uncommitted monies, approximately $500,000, would go towards where required, the prep work would be done on those roads, whether there's ditching required, culvert replacements, or base repair. Within the overall program, there was a series of roads that had already benefited from a previous program for gravel road improvements. So that went into kind of the selection process, kind of looking at low-hanging fruit. So within that overall program list, so some of these roads have already received improvements through previous programs, but the list that were proposed for this year with the uncommitted funds will receive any prep work that's required prior to resurfacing.
You okay with that?
I am, and I just, maybe if Public Works can comment as well, saying that this is a strong candidacy.
Would you like to comment?
Sorry, back up again. Which one are we talking about?
Gravel road program.
Yeah, that one I knew. What about it?
Just making sure that you guys are fine with the additional committed work this year with the roads that we've selected for this 2024 year. Sometimes I know that there's been some issues with some drainage culverts, and I know that you guys pre-planned for all that. So I'm just making sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, other than the response that was always provided by the other two area managers who have the gravel roads, there hadn't, I believe engineering has all our comments already concerning that program.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I look forward to looking at roads generally, and it doesn't mean to say that the low-volume gravel road program has come to an end, but maybe it needs to be tweaked. As long as it, shows that it saves money in the long run, maybe we should be doing more of this. So I look forward to sitting down and having a new look at what can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Rojas, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, engineering and public works regularly meet monthly to go over various different concerns or joint projects. The Orphan Gravel Road was one of them. In preparation of this report, we did consult with Public Works. I know Director Robinson is not here today, but they were very active in the vetting and then the creation of this report, and we have alignment with our Public Works counterparts as well.
Thank you. Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's important to remember, though, that we can't ignore the rural aspect of this, that this did benefit. There are a lot of rural, low-volume roads that potentially may miss out on this, which is unfortunate. I do support the motion. But I think we need to work together with Public Works, engineering, and as I've mentioned before, I think, personally myself, I think it would be a great idea if councillors, if we could split into 3 groups and do road inspections like they used to do in the townships, and to get us out there. I know we all do we know our roads, but it would be great if we could all work together, and that we would be, councillors would have some sort of input if we actually go out there and physically go out there and see these roads with staff. Just one question, please, through you to Manager Farquhar. When we look at these roads, do we take into consideration the traffic counts as well? Like, do we do we do the counts, do we, for everyone?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. So I just a little clarification specific to the program we're talking about, or into the assessment of the road network in general.
This was specifically with the low volume gravel roads.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. The original council resolution in 2021, I believe, that brought forward the original report, requested staff to look at low-volume roads and a strategy for how they could be resurfaced. So we took it into the account between AEDT, or annual average daily traffic, between 200 and 400 vehicles. Then we also looked at locations within urban and hamlet areas or villages that still had an inventory of a gravel road. And then we as well as around lakefronts and built-up areas around lakes, we identified those locations, those volumes, and then we brought that forward in that report in 2021. So yes, annual average daily traffic did play a consideration into the determination of those locations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry, do you want to sum up?
I'm fine, thanks, Mayor.
All in favor? And that passes. Moving on, that's the end of the Committee of the Whole items. We'll move to Planning Advisory Committee. And the motion would be that the minutes of the February 7th, 2024 Planning Advisory Committee meeting be received and the recommendations included in section 10.3 of the agenda be adopted, save and except 10.3.3 and 10.3.4. I have a mover and seconder. Councillor Smeaton, Councillor Richardson, all in favor, and that's passed. The extraction 10.3.3 is mine, and what I'm recommending at the Planning Advisory Committee, there was a motion made that the chair coordinate with the Director of Development Services a meeting where planning staff and the CAO are present with the members of the Planning Advisory Committee to have input into the 2024-2027 City of Kawartha Lake Strategic Plan. In further discussions with staff, that committee is a mandated committee. And as a mandated committee, it would not be appropriate because it's a mix of both council and public members. The public members are quite free to put in their recommendations to the strategic plan. Also, the council members who are on that committee have already done so. They participated in that. So I'm looking for a receive only in this situation. I will tell you that I was confused when it came to planning, and I felt that we were being asked to meet with planning staff in order to look at opportunities for streamlining and doing other things, and I didn't recognize that it was specific to the strategic plan. So if we do a receive only, then the mover of this is perfectly within their rights to put in their recommendations to the strategic plan, as do the other public members of that committee. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder to receive item 10.3.3. Councillor Smeaton, Councillor Warren. Any discussion? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification. As I too sit on that Planning Advisory Committee, and I at the same time was a little bit confused on how we were rolling that out. And you're right, we have till February 23rd to provide additional comments on the strategic plan, so we'll just move that way.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
And the same thing, I do sit on that committee also, and I thought the whole reason was to streamline processes. I didn't realize that it was commenting on the strategic plan, as you also felt. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's received. Thank you. The next item is the assumption of Pearson Farm Subdivision Phase 4B Lindsay be received. That the assumption of Pearson Farm Subdivision Phase 4B Geographic Town of Lindsay, City of Kawartha Lakes be approved. That an assumption bylaws substantially in the form attached as Appendix A to the report be approved and adopted by Council. Remember that the deputation we had today talked about Phase 5. So we're only dealing with Phase 4B here. And my reason for extracting it is I would like the Director of Engineering to speak to it if I can get a mover and seconder. Councillor Warren, Councillor Ashmore. Thank you. Councillor Warren, do you want to speak to it?
No, I just look forward to the Director's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ashmore, do you wish to speak to it?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you. Director, you heard the deputation, and I think one of the concerns was also the expenditure of public monies on the assumption of Pearson Farms. So could you give us maybe a little more than the Reader's Digest version, but an update on that?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The developer has put up full securities for this subdivision, just like any other subdivision, and all works completed prior to assumption was either done by the developer directly or utilizing the developer's securities to fix up some of the remaining work. So at no point in time has any public funds been used in the assumption of this subdivision.
Thank you, and we will deal with Phase 5 as is appropriate when it comes forward. And do we know what the status of Phase 5 is?
For you, Mr. Mayor, so Phase 5 went to the OMB or OLT now. It has draft plan approval and conditions of draft plan approval. Those conditions haven't been fulfilled yet. It's up to the developer to fulfill those conditions. Once those conditions are fulfilled, the draft subdivision agreement will come to Planning Advisory Committee, as like every other subdivision, for approval and signing of that subdivision agreement. But to date, engineering has not received a detailed engineering submission for Pearson Farms Phase 5.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, would the mover care to sum up? No? All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. Moving on to consent matters, we have Councillor Perry. I believe you have the consent matters.
411.1, Mayor? Okay. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Warren that all the proposed resolutions shown in section 11.1 of the agenda be approved and adopted by council in the order that they appear on the agenda and subsequently numbered.
Save and accept.
I don't believe there were
11.11.
11.1.1. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have a mover and seconder. All in favor? And that passes. Councillor MacDonald, I think we twisted your arm to extract 11.11.
Yeah, thank you. It wasn't much of a twisting, but anyway, again, this is about the CCTV cameras. I just want to let everybody know that we've secured the grant through City Kawartha Lakes Police Services, and the balance has to come from the Lindsay BIA, which is something that I'm going to make a resolution today, a request one, or just put one in to see if that we can just give the money to the Lindsay BIA so we can have the cameras installed downtown. I think it's a great project. Other municipalities have been very successful on this, and I think it would be a good thing for us to do. And it's $40,000. Okay.
So we'll receive it and then you'll make a supplementary motion?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion right now is to receive. You're moving the motion to receive. Is there a seconder? Councillor Richardson. Any comments? Seeing none. All in favor? And that's done. Now would you like to make your motion?
Yeah, my second motion would be that a one-time funding for the amount of $40,000 be provided to the Lindsay Downtown BIA as the city's contribution to the Lindsay Downtown BIA Surveillance Camera Project, and the treasurer be authorized to provide this funding from the city.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Smeaton. Do you wish to speak to it any further, or?
No, I think we've talked about this quite a bit at the last meeting, and Westbound did a really nice deputation on that, and I think it's going to be proved to be very useful for our downtown, and maybe more downtowns to come.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce?
Yes, just one question. Where's the money coming from?
Well, I think it would come from our capital, I guess. The general capital.
Can clarify through you, Mr. Mayor, in the alternatives in the resolution, it would come from the general contingency reserve.
Thank you.
Did you wish, CAO, did you wish to say anything else?
Maybe through you, Mr. Mayor, I just say that this came up through the budget process. And so I thank, through council, the BIA, the police service, we were directed to consult, to look at sort of what was the best option and structure for this, and leverage the funding that came through the province. And I think where this has landed, and based on this recommendation, I think it's a good, solid investment in the downtown. The BIA has stepped up and volunteered to run it and operate it. And I think there was full agreement from all the parties that were consulted.
Thank you. Did the seconder wish to speak to it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I'm fine. We had a long discussion at budget. This has all been clearly discussed at length, so there's no need to even discuss it. That's great.
Thank you. Clerk's clear on the motion? Thank you. All in favor? And that passes. Record time today for extractions. Moving on, petitions. We have a request for speed limit reduction on Riverview Road, Town of Lindsay. A copy of the petition with 39 signatures is available for viewing at the city clerk's office. Can I have a motion to receive? Councillor Richardson, Deputy Mayor McDonald. Anybody want to talk to it? No?
Yes. Yes, yeah, through you, I would. Yes, I received that. That has been an issue for quite some time. I think the last council put a speed bump in there, and it wasn't very successful, because now people are traveling to see how fast they can go get over the speed bump, and so on. So I know that there might be some work done to that road in the near future, and I think there's some plans that we can talk about how you make that road a little different so it's not a speed, so we can slow down the speeders. So, thanks.
Thank you. Seeing nothing else, all in favor? And that passes. Just hang on 1 second here. Councillor Smeaton, you have bylaws.
I do. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I move that the bylaws shown in section 14.1 of the agenda, namely items 14.1.1, 2, and including 14.1.15, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, numbered, signed, and the corporate seal attached.
You have a seconder for that?
I do, Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's passed. We're going to move into closed session. At this point in the meeting, City Council will go into closed session to consider the items under section 16.3 of the agenda. As per our procedural bylaw requirements, I'm asking all electronic participants in our meeting today to confirm to me by raising their hands that they are in a private room where no other persons can overhear the deliberations and the internet connection is secure and not publicly accessible. Well, I gotta do that. Yep. Can I get a mover and seconder for the following motion? That council convene into closed session at 2:23 p.m. pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act in order to consider matters identified in section 16.3 of the regular council meeting agenda of Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, namely item 16.3.1, 2, and including 16.3.7. Mover, Councillor Perry, Councillor Warren. All those in favor? Thank you. At this point, the meeting broadcast will now end for members of the public watching on Cogeco or your cable TV. The live stream of the meeting on YouTube and the rebroadcast on cable and Rogers Ignite will now be temporarily paused for members of the public. When closed session is complete, the live stream and rebroadcast of the meeting will resume to address the remaining open session items on the agenda. All remaining staff, with the exception of the CAO, city clerk, and city solicitor, are now instructed to leave the electronic meeting and the council chambers at this time. good to go. We're back on the air. We'll just wait for the CAO to kick open the doors. Release the hounds. Madam Clerk, are there items from closed session for open session?
Matters from the closed session, no motions required. Item 16.3.1, confidential closed session minutes. The confidential closed session minutes for the regular council meeting of January 30th, 2024 were approved. Item 16.3.2, Council received information on contract 2022-102-0Q. Item 16.3.3, report RS 2024-002, an appraisal and counteroffer for the road allowance adjacent to 80 Ellis Street, Fenton Falls, was provided to council. Council provided instruction to staff. Item 16.3.4, report RS 2024-004, an appraisal for the road allowance adjacent to 79 Rainbow Road, Fenton Falls, was provided to council. Item 16.3.5, report RS 2024-005, an appraisal and counteroffer for the city-owned property legally described as part of Lot 9 and part of Block 14, and part of Commerce Road on Plan 608 in the graphic town of Lindsay, City of Kawartha Lakes, part of PIN 63237-0397 LT, and part of PIN 63237-0406 LT, was provided to council. Council provided instruction to staff. Item 16.3.6, council received an update on meeting protocols. Item 16.3.7, council received an update on the draft strategic plan for the City of Kawartha Lakes for 2024 and 2027. That's all for now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That's all the matters from closed session. Councillor Richardson, you have a confirming bylaw.
I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor McDonald, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 be read a first, second, and third time, pass numbers signed, and the corporate seal attached.
Thank you. All in favor? And that passes. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Perry, Councillor Joyce, all in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much, everybody. And remember, March the 5th, we're starting at 10 a.m.